So if you just picked up Monster Hunter Wild and you're wondering what weapon class is going to best suit you, the Insect Glaive might be that class. If you like mobility, if you like being able to kind of just jump around the battlefield and be very agile, the Insect Glaive is going to be great. It's going to allow you to stay in the air quite often. It's going to give you a lot of verticality, and with that verticality is going to mean that you're going to be able to avoid head-on damage from monsters very often, and that's going to make your survivability very, very easy for you. So in terms of your combos, you're going to be having a very simple basic combo of triangle, 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 circle, and that is going to do an okay amount of damage. Otherwise, in mid-air, you can kind of jump in mid-air, you can press triangle, do a combo, you can press triangle again if you successfully hit your combo, and or you can go ahead and press triangle, attack, and then you can press X to jump back in the air, press triangle again, press X again, press something like circle. There's a couple of ways you can chain these attacks together. You can do it whichever way you want. I mean, if you want to continually stay in the air, you're going to have to keep hitting with triangle. As soon as you press circle, you're going to do a big ground slam attack, and then you will obviously go back down to the ground. So if you want to stay in the air, you're going to have to continuously hit the enemy with triangle and then do it again and again and again. You can only do it 3 times. You will eventually return to the ground, but then you just jump back in the air, of course, again. Make sure you keep an eye on your stamina, because when your stamina does run out, you are not going to be able to stay in the air indefinitely. So keep an eye on that. The Insect Glaive is also going to have a unique companion, I guess you could call it. It's a little insect that's going to be with you at all times, and it's going to allow you to kind of get extract from monsters. So monsters are going to have certain zones. Their body's going to be broken up into certain spots, and there's going to be a corresponding color with those spots, and that corresponding color, if you look underneath your weapon sharpness, is going to be a little number there, 1, 2, and 3, and that's going to allow you to kind of fill up these charges. And if you do that, you're going to get a whole lot of bonuses or buffs to your character. So what you can do is, if you do end up holding, I believe it is going to be R2 or right trigger if you play on Xbox, you can hold R2 and then you can press triangle, and that will allow you to send your Kinsect to certain zones. You'll see a little color just underneath your crosshairs which tells you what color you're currently looking at. When you do send your Kinsect out to extract essence of these zones, you can then recall it by pressing circle or B if you play on Xbox, and then you are going to fill up one of those charges. Generally speaking, with most monsters, the head is going to be red, whereas the arms or the front arms typically are going to be orange, or the body of the monster is going to be orange, and then the back legs are going to be white. Now, it does change a little bit. Sometimes certain zones are very hard to hit. Some zones are sometimes very small, whereas other times they're a lot bigger. It depends a bit on the monsters. Obviously, the monsters come in all shapes and sizes, so you are going to have a little bit of a easy or hard time with certain colors depending on the monster. But either way, if you do end up pulling the red charge, at first you're going to be able to do a charge attack. So you're going to unlock a certain charge attack. You're going to be able to use this charge attack by holding the circle button, and this is going to unlock a very heavy charge attack if you do have red in your bar. It's only going to last for 90 seconds. Keep that in mind, but then you can just do it again and recharge it. If you have white, you're going to be able to jump a lot higher, and you're going to be able to move a little bit faster. This is going to last for 120 seconds. And if you get orange, you're going to be able to be flinch resistant. So you're going to be able to not have as much flinching, or actually no flinching at all when an enemy hits you. There's also going to be the color of green. You'll be able to then heal with that. It's not going to give you any kind of bonuses, but if you do need healing, if you've taken damage, if you do send your Kinsect out on a green zone, it will be able to return to you with a little bit of extra health, which you can then use as a nice little bonus way of healing in a pinch. What is going to happen if you have red and white is you're going to have increased attack. You're going to have also, of course, the charge attacks, and you're also going to have, of course, all the bonuses of white, which is going to be the movement speed and increased height jump. If you have red and orange, you're going to be able to have increased defenses, so you're going to have enemies going to do less damage to you. You're going to have obviously the same increased movement speed, increased height, and of course you're going to have the increase or the grant flinch free. And if you have all 3 colors equipped, all 3 colors clicked, that's where it gets interesting. Then you're going to be able to have all these bonuses, as well as further attack increase, allows for certain attacks. You're going to unlock a certain heavy combo. If you hold circle now, you can do a combo, and when at the end of the combo, if you press circle again, you'll basically do this whirling tornado attack, which will do massive damage. Be careful if you do it though, because this will completely deplete all your charges. So only do this after you've, kind of used most of the time, because it's only going to last for 90 seconds. So I'd recommend doing this at the end of the 90-second period or near the end, because if you do this attack, you are going to completely exhaust your charge, even if you do it in the first 5 seconds. You're obviously also going to have increased movement speed, increased jump height, you're going to have flinch resistance, and you're going to be able to mitigate wind pressure, tremors, and roars. So it's going to just make you a little bit harder to get stunned by monsters. So you really want to have this bonus at all times. The bonus is going to be requiring you, of course, to collect these zones or these extracts from the monsters. It is going to be a little bit difficult in the beginning of monster battles because they're not going to have any weak points. So what I mean by that is essentially if you attack a monster enough times in a certain spot, it is going to start having a weak spot. It's going to have a wound, and if you hold L2 or left trigger, it will highlight in red where where those wounds are. And the nice thing with wounds is you could potentially, if you're holding down your L2 button, you can then press R1 and you can then essentially do a kind of combo attack, which will then send your Kinsect do a critical hit on those wounds, and the insect will immediately fill up all 3 colors just with that one hit, as well as also doing a pretty significant amount of damage to the monster. You can then recall and instantly charge. That is going to be the easiest way to fully charge your Kinsect and your Insect Glaive. It is going to require the monster to be wounded, so this might take a little bit of time into the battle. So in the first stage of the monster battle, you're probably going to have to manually target certain zones and call it, which can be difficult at times because of course some zones are going to be a little bit more difficult to reach. But once you have your monster wounded, you can then again hold L2 and then press R1, and if you're looking at the correct spot, your Kinsect will get instantly fully charged, and then you can call it back and have your fully charged Insect Glaive ready to go. For this exact reason, I always recommend leaving at least one wounded zone open on the monster. Don't, exhaust all the wounded spots, because when your Kinsect eventually does get depleted, you're going to want to have one of those zones immediately available to try recollect all the essence and do that attack that's going to fully charge you. So always keep at least one zone. Don't use all the wounded zones as soon as you see them. Keep one available. The next important thing about getting the triple buff is it's going to allow you to have more vertical attacks. So typically when you're going to attack in the air with the Kinsect blade, you are going to be able to hold R1 and press X is going to mount you into the air. If you end up pressing X again, you're basically going to do like another little double jump or like a mid-air evade. It's kind of like a dodge or a double jump. If you end up pressing triangle, you're going to just do one big simple attack, a sweeping attack, and that is going to just do some, okay damage. If you have a fully charged Kinsect, or you have fully charged all 3 colors, instead of doing a simple basic attack in mid-air, you're going to do this spinning tornado attack, which is going to give you multiple hits, which you can do in one go. And also, if you connect with one of these shots, it should be mentioned, if you hit when you press R2 and triangle, if you hit the monster with that attack, you will then be able to do it again. So as long as you hit the enemy, you can then press triangle again in mid-air, and you can do it again, and you can do it again, and you can do it again. You can do it, I think, 3 times in total, and that is going to allow you to basically stay in the air. It's very, very important to stay in the air with the Insect Glaive, because while you're in the air, it's very hard for the monster to deal damage to you. So it gives you a lot more mobility, it gives you a lot more maneuverability, and it allows you to kind of attack the monster from above, which you are going to then avoid taking damage. As long as you're off the ground, it's going to be very hard to take damage. So I would recommend making use of that as much as you can. Always try to keep yourself fully charged, because if you do, you're going to get much stronger attacks, much more mobility, and that's going to make your life much, much easier. Now, you can also, with the Insect Glaive, you can also send it forward to attack. So if you hold down the R2 button and then you press R1, you can basically send your Kinsect forward, and it is going to then do a periodic amount of damage. This is going to drain the Kinsect stamina. You can see the stamina icon there. Right next to the Kinsect is going to be a little yellow bar, which will slowly depreciate while the Kinsect is attacking. It will slowly periodically attack the enemy as long as this marker is set on the enemy. And this will also do certain types of damages. So if you have a poison Kinsect, it'll periodically poison the monster that you're attacking, which can be a nice little stat debuff to the enemy. And there are other attacks you can customize your Kinsect. You can create or buy and upgrade your Kinsect, so you can do a whole bunch of things with that. You can do that in the smithy, and that is going to be, when it does run out of stamina, it's going to automatically return to you. Once again, when you do fully charge your Kinsect, you are going to be able to hold L2 and then hold circle, and you're going to see a big orange glow around your weapon when it's ready to go. And this is going to, when you unleash it, it's going to do a big like whirlwind, big combo attack. And then if you have your bars filled up with the different colors, you can then press circle again at the end of that first combo, and then it's going to do a massive AoE like whirlwind attack, which will do huge amounts of damage. Again, that is going to completely empty out your charge, so don't use that towards the end of the overall attack. You can also target critical weak zones in mid-air. So you press R2 and X, you will then be able to press L2 and R1 in mid-air, and you will be able to do the same thing that you can on the ground, which is to fill up your Insect, do a critical hit on an enemy's wounded spot, which will then give your Insect all 3 charges in one go. I believe this is the only way to gain all 3 charges in one go. Usually the Kinsect can only hold 2 different colors, but I believe if you do it this way, your Kinsect will be able to hold all 3 colors at once. Overall, the Insect Glaive is a great weapon for maneuverability purposes. You are going to be able to jump all over the place. You're going to be able to stay in the air. You have a lot of combos you can do, and it's going to be a great way of just avoiding damage. And that's the nice thing about the Kinsect, is when you play, or the Insect Glaive, when you play other weapons, you're on the ground very often, you're very slow, you have to kind of dodge, you have to make sure you time your attacks well, you have to be very careful about what the monster is doing. But when you're playing with the Insect Glaive, you're not going to do big amounts of damage. It's not going to be a weapon that stuns the monster very often. You're not going to be able to, knock it out very easily. It's going to be a very slow damage dealing weapon, but it's going to give you so much maneuverability. It's going to give you so much freedom to jump around and just stay out of confrontation, which in turn is going to make you a lot harder to kill, and it's going to make life a lot easier for you. I think it's a great weapon. It's a little bit confusing to get used to. You got to, the combos are, there's a lot of buttons to click, but I think once you learn or once you get used to the Kinsect, it's actually one of the easier weapons in the game because of the fact that the combat's going to feel a lot easier. You're not going to be taking so much damage. You're not going to have to worry about timing dodges. You're not going to have to worry about a lot of things. So once you get used to the controls, I think it's a much easier weapon. It's a bit of a harder weapon to get used to. I think the controls are a bit confusing. There's a lot of things going on with the Kinsect, and all these things might sound a little bit daunting. If you play with it for an hour or two, it starts to make a lot more sense. And once you get used to it, I think you're going to have a much easier time with monster battles because, again, the monsters just really aren't going to pose that much of a threat for you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this guide. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comment section below if you are enjoying Monster Hunter Wilds and what is your favorite class and what class do you want to see a video on next. Let me know in the comment section below. I'll see you guys again next time. Take care, everyone, and bye-bye.